once you have taken Diksha or surrendered to a guru, when the guru says jump, you jump.
Why a person, a human being, would need a guru?
That's a very interesting question. And one I know that occurs to a lot of people.
Are we trying to say that we will still be stuck even after having a guru?
Yes, of course. You will be stuck even after gaining enlightenment, according to Patanjali. So
let's talk about that.
When the whole Me Too movement and stuff came out, I had a major disagreement with that because it was, people were saying, oh, just, be public. No, don't be foolish. They will sue you, they will get witnesses, they will do whatever because they created the system. They know how it works. A lot of corporates do have counseling and therapists sort of on board. However, they're like, okay, let's get you over this bump and get you, upping the profits. If you have killed somebody, face the consequence.
Now, when I kill a mosquito troubling me?
Ideally, don't take any life because we have not created life. We should not take life. There are so many things you realize about yourself and you stop being reactive. Then you say, okay, there is value in just seeing, in just observing. I don't need to respond every time. Faith, I think, is one of the most vital qualities that a person can have.
Hello everyone and welcome to the PVT Show where we have conversations that truly energize your mind. Today we aim to go a step ahead and energize mind, body and spirit. Interesting? Well, before we dive in, I'd like to start with a simple disclaimer. Today's podcast is a very deep, intellectual, transformative and emotional conversation with a remarkable guest. She is a former journalist, best-selling author, and now a mind, body, spirit founder of Shamah, a practice. Recently, she broke the algorithm on X, formerly known as Twitter, with an explosive thread that revealed the dark side and the realities of our society and the corporate frameworks. Well, amassing over 6 million views, her courage in sharing these truths has inspired several women, including myself. I'm very, very thrilled. And I feel very, very blessed to have her presence on my podcast today. We will be sharing her great insights and spiritual depth. We'll be exploring her books, her pain, and her powerful pivot through spirituality. One of her works, Sit Yourself Down, is a very, very powerful book that I would like you all to pick up and read. So if you're someone who is interested in knowing more about Buddhism, spiritual transformation, meditative practices, Vipassana, self-healing, just empowering yourself, then I welcome you to join me in this very poetic, meditative podcast journey with me. Let's meet the powerful and spiritual author Gayatri Jayaraman, who now is known as the Tara Das. Welcome, Taraji.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to the PVT Show. I'm so honored to welcome you to this conversation.
No, the privilege is mine entirely. Thank you, Poonam ji, for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I am going to be discovering these two beautiful books that you have written with you. And that's the privilege I have. That's what I love about my show, because I can not just relish reading the books that I love to read, but also be with the authors to discuss. These are two of your very beautiful works. And now my audience is going to be thinking that I introduced you and you on your screen is Tara Das, but the author is Gayatri Jayaraman. I think this is the story that needs to be told, and to be told truthfully in the most honest way by no one else but Tara herself. So before we begin this conversation, I have a ritual to say, let's cheers to life. Let's cheers to the good things in life, and let's also cheers to the pains that we have endured and come out powerfully. So cheers.
Cheers. That's so sweet. That's such a refreshing way to begin. Thank you so much. So to respond, I'm so glad to be here, and it's very rare to find somebody who's taken the interest to read and to consider, contemplate, and then ask questions. So I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for taking the trouble. Just to respond to the first point that you raised, which is my books are in the name of Gayatri, but My name is Tara Das now. So, who is Gayatri and who is Tara Das? Right? Am I
Right.
am I an imposter?
Yeah, that's a good start.
So the thing is, I was Gayatri until the 14th of May 2024, when my guru, basically in the course of, I'm also a practicing Buddhist. I say also because I'm also a lot of other things in the Vajrayana tradition, and he put his hand on my head. And he's a very powerful master of the Vajrayana tradition, which is a tradition of Buddhist Tantra. And he gave me my new name. So the whole name he gave me is Tara Das, which Tara is, just for viewers who may not know, is the goddess. She is the Shakti form in the Buddhist Vajrayana tradition. So she would be equivalent to, say, Durga, and like Durga, she has many manifestations, 21 forms of Tara. But what is most interesting about her is she herself is an embodiment of compassion. And she was born out of a tear from the eye of Avalokiteshvara, who is the, deity of compassion. And so, but as she went through the world, and she, as I said, there are 21 forms, and she saves people in different forms. She's the most compassionate one. But she also took a vow to gain liberation only as a woman. So, I was so grateful that that was the name he gave me. And the name he gave me is Tara Das, which is the servant or instrument of Tara, which makes me feel even more proud. And he said, use it. So, therefore, I have legally changed my name. Also, once you have taken, both in Hinduism and in Buddhism, once you have taken Diksha or surrendered to a guru, when the guru says jump, you jump. So the monks take something known as Vinaya vows, which are the monastic vows. The lay people take what are known as Samaya vows. And Samaya vows are complete surrender to the guru, and there are certain categories of those. But the key instrument is that you do not break Samaya. Okay, there are many classifications of samaya, but the fundamental is do not break samaya. If you don't have to accept somebody as your guru. In fact, there is a period of 12 years where you must investigate your guru. You must question, you must see if it is the right guru for you. You must see if you're willing to want to be a disciple. But once you have taken samaya, guru says jump, you jump. So my name is Taradas.
How beautiful. And so many questions are coming from here. My first submission to for us to start this conversation is that why a person, a human being, would need a guru?
That's a very interesting question, and one I know that occurs to a lot of people. It reminds me actually of a passage in the Shirdi Sai Satcharitra. I don't know if you've read that. Well, I think a lot of people in Maharashtra, Mumbai, especially, are very familiar with it. We do Parayana and all of that. But I think it is in the second or the third chapter. It is the last passage where he is explaining to Hemant Pant why people need a guru, and he gives the example of the way, you know and he says there is a jungle and there is a river and there is a boat, and if you have to walk on your own, you can get lost, you can be afraid. So the guru is basically somebody who is just accompanying you, who has been on the path before, who knows the path, and who's directing you. I'll also tell you a story that occurs in the Buddha's, the canon, which is there was this businessman who used to come and visit him in Rajgir. And he used to say, okay, so you're enlightened. So why can't you just snap your fingers and enlighten me? Right?
Yeah.
And the Buddha just smiled and he looked at him and he said, you're a businessman, right? You must be traveling to Varanasi very often. So he said, yes, I go every week. And he said, so you know the way? So he said, yeah, you just go from here, go from there, go to Sarnath, go to this place, that place, turn left, turn right, and you will reach Varanasi. I can tell you the way. So the Buddha says, why can't you just walk for me? And he says, how can I walk for you? At best I can give you the road map, I can tell you how to go, you'll have to walk for yourself. And the Buddha smiles and he says, similarly, I can give you a road map because I've been, but you have to walk for yourself. So so the thing is, it's not, I think the guru has a lot of connotations in today's world. uh, the guru is somebody who has the roadmap. The guru is somebody who has walked before, and the guru is somebody who has reached where you are hoping to reach. And the guru is also somebody who is overflowing with compassion and extends a hand when you're stuck and says, here, I'm here, you know. So all of that is the guru, and I'm sure the guru means different things to different people, but I think it is a little arrogant of us to imagine we know everything.
True. Very true. Very, very well explained. Um, Taraji, you just said, I'm just drawing from the same thing that you said, that if you're stuck, there is a guru to look at you. Are we trying to say that we will still be stuck
Oh,
even after having a guru?
yes, of course. You will be stuck even after gaining enlightenment, according to Patanjali. So,
Let's talk about that.
so just I also do this thing where I teach I'm studying the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras through six different bhashyas, and I see what each of the teachers says. And so just yesterday, I think I was doing Sutra number 8 in the Samadhi Pada, which is the first book. And there is a line, I think it was either it's in 8 or in 7, it's just escaping me right now, in which Vachaspati Mishra, in the glossary to Vedavyasa's bhashya, he says, even when you reach the end, okay, even when you have purified, when you have overcome chitta and stilled all the gunas and the vrittis, okay, even then you have to wake up every day and do it again. Okay, so yes, it was in Sutra number 8, which is about Sutra number 7, which is about wrong viparyaya, which is wrong knowledge. Okay, now the thing is, it is because there's right knowledge, there's also wrong knowledge. What is wrong knowledge? Wrong knowledge is when your perception does not conform to reality. Okay, I perceive something, but there is no object that corresponds.
Correct.
Therefore, I have wrong knowledge. Like the famous example is rope and snake. There is a rope, you see it as a snake, your perception is seeing a snake, but there is no snake there.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you correct wrong knowledge? Wrong knowledge is you have to do something to change that perception, which is, say, switch on the light. Okay, now the thing is, even after you have stilled the vrittis, even after you have tranquilized your chitta, even when the gunas have disappeared and you have a unified union, you are still existing in this world.
I have a question here. So
Yeah.
let us just decode in your definition chitta and vrittis first.
Okay, sorry. I think I'm just going off. Chitta is basically the combination of the three, Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara, is chitta. Mind, intellect, and ego together forms your consciousness.
And
Okay?
this is not, we are not talking about the rational brain.
The entirety of your rational brain is mind.
Yeah.
Okay? Buddhi is intellect, analysis, discrimination. Ahankara is ego, the sense of self.
Yeah.
Together they constitute chitta.
Chitta.
Okay? So chitta, yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. What is yoga? Yoga is this stilling, tranquilizing of the vrittis that emerge from chitta. Okay?
Now what are vrittis?
Vrittis are modifications of the mind. So basically everything you see in the world is a vritti. Everything you experience in the world is a vritti. It is a modification of the mind. It is a perception of the mind, of chitta. It is a projection of chitta. That is why we say the world is Maya. Okay?
So, whatever your experience has been, that becomes your world. That becomes your truth. Is it fair to say?
It depends on what your truth is. Okay? Anything that is seen through the sense perception cannot be true. It is only on the stilling of the sense perceptions that you gain truth.
Very deep.
Okay, so vritti is basically the modifications of the mind. And as I was trying, your original question was, is there a point where you have to keep doing this? So shall I tell you another story? Am I telling
Yeah,
you too
yeah,
many
please.
stories? So Osho tells the story of a master called Nan In, okay,
Uh-huh.
a Chinese master who has a disciple. The disciple comes to him and says, Master, I have achieved everything you have taught me. Okay. Now, what should I do? I'm bored. Okay. I need you to teach me the next level. So the master looks at him and he says, You are right. You are a very great disciple. I will give you this letter. And there is this other master over there. You must go and spend some time with him and you will learn the next level from him. Disciple is very thrilled. So he takes a letter, he sets off on foot, goes on this long, long journey, reaches the place where his master has sent him, Nanan has sent him, and he says, he finds nobody there but an old innkeeper in an inn. So he says, the innkeeper says, I don't know why your master has sent me here, must be some mistake. He says, No, no, my master doesn't make mistakes, so I must stay with you. So he stays. And the innkeeper, he says, Look, I have nothing special to teach you. I'm just going to do what I do. So the man observes him very closely, the disciple. And now he's an innkeeper. He serves the customers in the evening. He washes the dishes. He sweeps the floor. He puts the chairs up, locks the inn, goes to bed. Morning, he takes the chairs down, sweeps the floor, puts the dishes out, serves customers. Same repeat evening, Now, after a week of this, the disciple says, I have nothing to learn from you. I'm going. You're just washing dishes. I don't need to do this. He goes back and he tells Nanin, I don't know why you sent me there. I have nothing to learn. Nanin says, that is the learning. Okay? That this purification you do at night, when you have washed the dishes and swept the floor and locked up and gone to bed, next day in the morning you wake up, you sweep the floor, you put out the dishes, you serve the customers, and again you wash the dishes and sweep up and lock up and go to bed. And that is what you will do every single day for the rest of your life. The process of purification doesn't stop. There is no
Yes.
level at which you say, I'm done, I'm a master.
Yeah. Uh, does this also corresponds to the fact that we are ever changing?
One of the key principles of yoga is you die every moment to be reborn in every moment. So, yes, that is also a principle of Buddhism. That is also the principle of a lot of Hindu thought, philosophy, whether Sankhya or any other form of philosophy. This moment is all there is.
This is it.
Yeah.
Wow. We have set the stage for a very nice conversation now.
I'm sorry if I've just thrown everything into the deep end.
No, this is how we have to uncover, because you very beautifully write in your book, which is such a beautiful book. I am going to be recommending this to anyone and everyone who wants to understand not just Buddhist noble truths, but how beautifully you have explained with examples.
Thank you.
One of the and very very real life examples. They are not like spiritual examples that we will not be able to relate in today's day and age. The examples, one of the very beautiful example, there are several actually, all because it makes it very chewable as a knowledge, I would say. So this is meant for today's generation. Taraji, let us begin. I explained it to the audiences also in your introduction that we will move from the place of pain to the spiritual pleasure. Pain, the first noble truth is dukkha. In Mahabharata, in the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is also the dukkha of Arjuna, right? So there's nothing that is not coming out of pain.
Hmm.
When a woman, when a mother gives birth to a child, it is from the process of pain. So
Hmm.
I think any eruption, any transformation comes from the process that begins with the pain.
Hmm.
Your you broke the internet few weeks ago.
Hmm.
Your I won't call it a painful journey. Your journey of self transformation and empowerment being so beautifully put out.
Hmm.
Millions of people read it. We will not get into the specifics of the pain, but then I would say that that was the base of who you are today, with so much
Hmm.
of literature, with so much of spirituality, with where your base is. Anybody who is going through any kind of a pain today. In fact, I introduced you in the podcast saying that if you are happy in life, this podcast is not for you. Great. But if you are in pain and you want to be in a meditative journey to understand how the process of pain to pleasure and to empowerment and transformation happens, then this podcast is. Let us deep dive into your journey of transformation, wherein I would also want you to explain the process of your 10 days of Vipassana. Over to you, Taraji.
Okay. Then, firstly, I want to clarify I'm not in pain, so is this podcast not for me?
No, because wow, you have caught me. Yes, you are not in pain. So, this feeling has to go to everyone who possibly is wanting to be out of their pain.
Okay, I understand that sentiment, and the I support your intention to support people who are in pain, which is also part of the work that I do. Firstly, I'd like to clarify that dukkha is often, which is a basis of, say, Buddhist philosophy, or is even mentioned in the Yoga Sutras. That some see the nature of samsara is suffering. Okay, but as all the gurus and all the rishis will tell us, but what that suffering means is often misinterpreted. It isn't this abject pessimism. It isn't that everything I touch in life is going to turn to dust in my hands and is misery.
Yeah,
What it basically means is that, see, the rishis and gurus understand suffering, pain, pleasure very differently from you and I. For us, if I get what I want, it is pleasure. If I don't get what I want, it is pain.
correct.
So, something my teacher always says is, we Buddhists are very sneaky, we wish people, may you always be happy. But what we mean by happiness is not may you get what you want. It means may you be moved towards your liberation. So, if what is going to move you towards your liberation is a divorce, then may you have that. If what is going to move you towards liberation is losing your job, then may you have that. If what you need to become a better person in life is some punishment for some harm you have done to others, then may you have that. Okay, so ultimately, and I feel this is a very useful definition of what is dharma in a world that is very very conflicted. Okay, in terms of religion today and social harmony, dharma is what moves you towards your liberation. That's it. Okay,
Let's define liberation.
freedom from the cycle of samsara, being sucked into um, creating more action, expanding your field of action, karmic consequence. Okay, so there's this zen sage, Dogen Zenji, who says we must all live like a bird passing through the sky, where there is no trail behind and there is no trail ahead. Okay, you can pass through the sky and leave no trace of your existence. And that is how to live in this world, because what does that mean? One is, it means you don't disturb anybody. Second is, you don't further your karmic consequence. Okay, so how do you not further your karmic consequence? And whether it is the Buddha, whether it is the Bhagavad Gita, whether it is some other thing that you follow, I think overall the simple lesson is equanimity. Neither pleasure nor pain, neither clinging nor grasping, neither gain nor loss. And ultimately, that is what Sri Krishna teaches Arjuna, right, in the middle of the battlefield. Whether it is your relatives, whether it is property and assets and kingdom that you want or don't want, do not be shaken.
Yeah.
Do not want. And how are you not shaken? When are you not shaken? You can only be not shaken when the strings are not in somebody else's hands. They cannot give you, they cannot take away from you. Neither gain, nor loss, nor honor, nor dishonor, okay, nor praise, nor blame. I do not accept anything that anybody gives me. Whoever I am, I will decide. Okay, so that equanimity. Why do the sages say that there is a journey from dukkha? Dukkha comes from grasping and rejection. It is a life of duality. I want this, I don't want that. I want what I want, I don't want what I don't want. But I'm ending up getting what I don't want and not getting what I want. Okay? So I'm constantly in this fluctuation.
Yeah.
And whoever has the capacity to give me what I want, I have allegiance to, I have loyalty to, I'm nice to. Whoever takes away what I want or doesn't give me what I want, I have anger, hatred, you know. So we are constantly being pulled. Anybody has the potential to keep pulling at our strings. So ultimately, it is not so much about overcoming dukkha and going to a point of pleasure. Because if you're doing that, you're still swinging between one extreme and the other. The point is equanimity. And I'll tell you one thing that I realized, and I am no great sadhaka, I'm a student of many, many great masters. I've had four gurus in this life alone. I've been a personal student of Satya Sai Baba, of S.N. Goenka, of Zonsar Khense Rinpoche, of Sharad Joyce. And so I am very, very much like in the kindergarten of my journey. Uh, it's just that I've taken those practices that each has taught me very seriously. And one thing I can tell you is, though I had thought I had processed a lot, okay, of all that had happened. Those of you who have seen my thread, it's been 22 years. My son now is 23. So I was speaking after many years of therapy, many years of sitting with it, many years of self blame, anger, resentment, all of that, and many years of Vipassana meditation, of studying Buddhist philosophy, Vedic philosophy, yoga practice, and then I opened my mouth. So I opened my mouth at a time when I felt sure that it was not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Okay. I opened my mouth to clear my name, to set some things straight. And because it was annoying me that there were people who were participating in this persecution of women, not just me, but of others, and then acting like woke activists on the subject of the RG car medical institute incident. And they get to take the platforms and talk about women's rights when
Yeah.
they are no less. But essentially, what so I spoke what I wanted to say. As I said, I spoke my truth, and I'd waited a long time to say it. But what really changed for me inside was realizing I was not shaken. Okay.
Yeah.
And through that I think a couple of days, there were more than 6 million views the last time I looked at that tweet. And through that, as it was accumulating, I felt inside me such a deep calm, such a deep surety. We say that believe women, and I agree that's very, very important. But in that moment, I knew I didn't care if anybody believed me. Because, and it felt like I had my guru's hand on my head, you know.
Yeah.
So I wish that for women. And I know that's not something that I have given to myself. It is a result of practice, it is a result of meditation, it's a result of yoga, it's a result of counseling, therapy. It's also a result of faith and belief and surrender, you know, that and I believe in that harmony in the world. But also, I think for me, that was the first time I witnessed it. What is equanimity? Where the external statements or behaviors of people no longer have power on you. So that's also one of the reasons why I want this to reach people, especially women. Women are very beaten down by circumstances, by people more powerful than them, more entitled, more vicious, more malicious. And they feel very, very cornered.
Yeah.
And I have in my life. I have sat down and cried and wondered what to do. And if I didn't have a son to bring up, maybe I wouldn't have stood up and, gone back and done the things I had to do. I had to bring up a son. So, but what I'm saying is, if you're out there and you're being beaten down and you're cornered and you don't know, and the system is gaming you and it's rigged and you can see it,
Yeah.
okay, nothing external to you is going to give you your justice. Okay, your justice is going to come from you. It's going to come internally. You're going to feel it in your strength. You're going to feel it in your own voice, in your own life, in your own equanimity, in your faith, and in knowing who you are. If you focus on those, believe me, justice will roll itself out.
Sure. How does one think when they are going through?
So I'd like to tell you that I was very equanimous when I was going through it, but I wasn't. I was quite a mess. But I think now I'm a very different person also, because one, I've received a lot of input from people who cared from me, especially gurus, teachers, and I've been given techniques. Also, retraining as a counselor has helped me. So my perspective is different today, uh, because I turn outwards and try and help people in the way that I have been helped. And what I would say is, ask for help.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
don't think that you have to do it alone. Were not put into these circumstances alone. A system sort of gathered around you and pushed you into that system. You have no obligation to face this alone. I think women especially are, or the kinds of predators who do these things, the abusers, they take the silence and shame of a woman for granted. They assume it will be there. They will, and this protects them. This gives them the field in which to operate.
Yeah.
It, okay, it secures their ground. So I feel that women also need to start being smart and using the whisper network in the way. See, men don't go to courts and say, this woman has done this to me.
Correct.
They just call each other up, or discuss it over a whiskey at a club, or when somebody calls up somebody for a recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, it's easy character assassination. So, oh, इसको तो बहुत एडिटरों ने बनाया है. Okay, and if you're powerful enough and influential enough, people around you will giggle and laugh and assume. You don't even need to actually say things.
Yeah.
For men, this is how, and they say women gossip, men use gossip to completely, destroy
Sabotage.
women's
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. Women need to be smart. You don't need the justice system. Okay, you need to do what men have been doing to you. And the thing is, women need to band together.
Yeah.
Women need to trust each other. Women need to believe each other. And women need to talk to each other. And so when the whole Me Too movement and stuff came out, I had a major disagreement with that because it was people were saying, oh, just be public.
Hmm.
No, don't be foolish. They will sue you. They will, call you out. They will get witnesses. They will do whatever because they created the system. They know how it works. They sit down for lunches and dinners and cocktail parties and go golfing with all the people involved in this entire system.
Correct.
Okay. There's also huge money trails involved in all of these things. So and I'm not even necessarily talking about bribes. These are all part of one social circuit. They protect each other. Okay, they're
The
not
boys
gonna.
club.
Yeah, boys club, it's also a social club. Women are also involved in this because women who are given certain privileges of proximity and safety, I'm not saying all, but
Yeah.
I think we all know the many women who do, they become the flying monkeys or the foot soldiers of the patriarchy. Okay.
True.
Women who go and abuse other people on behalf of the men they are protecting. And I will tell you, the men who harassed me for half an hour. The women they sent after me harassed me for 20 years.
Yes.
Okay. So, we all know who they are. So, they are not going to sit there on a panel and say, oh, you know what? This person has evidence. She has been wronged. She is right. I believe her. Let us give her justice. I can hear the demons cackling.
Mm.
Okay. They are not sitting there to say that. They are sitting there in positions of power and privilege to protect their own interests and the interests of those whom they socialize with, whose families they marry into, whom they have dinners with, whom they share business deals with and recommendations with. That's what they're there for. Power is, as it gets to the top of the pyramid, it's a scratching, fighting to cling.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, it's the heights what we spoke about when we began clinging and grasping. It is the epitome of clinging and grasping at the top of that social circle. And they assume the reason why they are so insecure and vicious is they assume everybody wants to be there. They don't realize, they don't have a concept of people not wanting
Yeah.
what they have, because so they are sitting like this, in a very close grasping posture. They are like this and their fists are clenched and they are out to fight anybody. They don't realize that people can just want justice for the sake of having their name cleared, of having a balance restored in their lives, um, in receiving an apology. In
Yes.
I think, unfortunately, and I'm saying unfortunately, a lot of women are more than willing to forgive if we somehow have this feeling that wrong was done to me. Maybe they made a mistake, maybe they'll apologize, maybe they'll set it right. No, they don't
Yeah.
care. What they care about is protecting, at the end of it, it's a money trail. It's assets, it's land, it's name, it's position, it's designation, it's power, and it's so-called honor.
Oh, but I firmly believe that there is a court where you have no escape. Maybe not this court, but some other court. So, Taraji, if you were to put yourself in a different way, in a different avatar, in a different, say, reality,
Hmm.
um, how you would have countered the situation, or you think it was a part of karma?
Okay. See, unfortunately, I am very, very Hindu and very, very Buddhist in the theory of karma. I do believe, and I don't apply this to others. Each one knows their own circumstances. I believe that if I did not have some karmic prarabdha karma to complete off, this would not have happened to me.
Hmm.
Okay, I have things that I am answerable for, which is why my life panned out the way it panned out, or situations arose, and maybe I did not react in the way that I should have reacted. Maybe I could have reacted differently. These are all always, top of our minds in hindsight. There
Yeah.
were better ways. I could have told somebody, I could have escaped the situation, I could have shouted, I could have cried. I think as women, we all sort of put ourselves in these, we've considered all the options. Because of my spiritual sort of background, I do believe that if I didn't have the prarabdha karma that caused those situations to arise, it would not have happened to me. Having said which, okay, I also know that I have not harmed anybody. So I have not created karmic consequence for myself.
Yeah.
Okay. I could have, even in the aftermath of that, done harm to people.
Yeah.
Okay. But I didn't. And I don't. I'm very careful in what I say because life has shown me that karma is inescapable. And
Yeah.
both the Buddha says this as well as, all the Hindu scriptures. But the Buddha also says, you plant neem, you will get a neem tree. You plant sugarcane, you will get a sugarcane plant. Okay? There is no ifs and buts about these trajectories. So I also know that none of these people will escape the consequences that have come to them for the harm that they have done.
Yeah.
you know and I have seen this, I have witnessed it in my life. I know that, and I don't even believe this happens in another life. It happens in this life. It will happen before the moment you die. And I have had phone calls come to me from people on their deathbed, dying from very painful cancer, where their last thoughts are not on family or their wealth or their designation or their careers, which they acted to protect and uphold and uplift,
Mm.
but to say, I need you to forgive me.
Yeah.
Okay. So this has not happened once, it has happened twice, it has happened thrice. And far be it from me to wish painful deaths on people. But the mind, as they say, the mind is what creates heaven or hell. And if you have done harm to somebody and you know you have done harm and you're living with that, let every court in the country clear you. You will not die without begging for forgiveness. That much I can guarantee.
You said it. Something that is just stemming from the whole episode. You said Prarabdha karma,
Hmm.
right? So if one has to start the journey today, first a quick explanation of Prarabdha karmas, what they are,
Hmm.
and what can be done in for women, right? In difficult situations, in a normal way, what action can you take? And at a spiritual level, what action can you take?
Hmm. Okay. So, what is Prarabdha Karma? Prarabdha Karma, just I'm not getting into too much
Yeah.
complicated explanation, but it is, say, residue from my past life. Maybe I believe that maybe I've harmed somebody in a past life and that has come back to me in some way. Otherwise, I know that I'm very, very protected, so that would not have happened. And the nature of karma is, let us say these people ask me for forgiveness and I forgive them.
Yeah.
Okay. I can forgive, but you will still not escape your karma.
Hmm.
What I can say is, I will not. So what is forgiveness, first of all? Okay, it is, let us say I have harmed you, and I have made you lose an opportunity to earn an income and make a living that would have really benefited you in your life. And I realize it later and I come and say, I did this to you and I'm very, very sorry.
Hmm.
And you say, it's over now, so let it go and I forgive you. You have released yourself from ill will towards me and ill feeling and bearing that burning coal of resentment towards me. The release is yours.
Hmm.
But I have still done wrong. And there is a consequence to doing wrong. So that karmic consequence will come back to me in a way that I know that I'm losing opportunity that I deserved or some other form of it, you know. But I will always know what I'm getting it back for. Okay, so that is the way karma works, and karma is very, very complicated. Even a lot of sages, saints, they find it very difficult to explain this in simpler terms. So I'm just explaining a very, very layman's sort of
Yeah.
understanding of karma. Okay, and that is just because if I have killed somebody, let's say, even
Hmm.
if that family member of that person has forgiven me, or that person has forgiven me, I may reform, I may undertake measures to change my life and make sure that I don't do, but there is still a karmic consequence because I have taken a life
And there's
that
no
I
escape to
must.
it.
There is no escape. You cannot escape. That is just plain and simple the principle of harmony in the world. It's like gravity. What goes up must come down. If you have killed somebody, face the consequence.
Now, when I kill a mosquito troubling me,
So, ideally, don't take any life because we have not created life. We should not take life.
correct.
However, we are also instruments in the cycle of life.
The
Okay?
human beings you mean?
All of us.
Okay.
A tiger that eats a goat is an instrument in ending that goat's life.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Which is part of the cycle of life. There is a natural food chain,
Hmm.
right? And all beings that are born must die in order to be reborn into another life. So, what I do, for instance, is whenever a life is taken, when I'm conscious of it, sometimes we're stamping on bugs and creatures, like the Jains point out.
Yeah.
When we don't have consciousness, we don't have awareness of the harm that we're doing in a moment. Okay, you're gardening and you're killing like 10 bugs or insects. We kill cockroaches every
Yeah.
day in our homes. We spray pesticides. Okay. um so, but at least when we are aware that we are taking a life,
Hmm.
what I do is I at least try and say, may whatever this act be the cause of you moving towards a human birth and moving towards your liberation. Okay.
To the to the
To,
other.
yeah, so if I've killed a mosquito,
Uh-huh.
then may it be reborn as a bird, and then whatever, and then we all go through these cycles, and then
Higher
you get
life form.
higher life form, and then you go, because it's only through human birth we believe that you have the self awareness to
Yeah.
escape your karmic cycles.
Correct.
So at least, yes, if I have killed unconsciously, let it at least be in the service of your liberation.
Yeah.
you know so if sometimes we can't help killing, but when we do, to do it with the best of and cleanest of intentions.
So for everyone's understanding and mine also, when you say this,
Hmm.
how does it is happening in the spiritual world? Because the thing has died, and then you are giving this blessing for a higher form, or I don't know how to decode this. So how is it going to impact?
So I find that a very difficult question to answer because I don't know of any other world. For me,
Hmm.
the whole world is a spiritual world. Okay.
Oh,
The material world is a spiritual world. Okay. Osho gives an example. You may drink alcohol.
uh-huh.
What is affected?
The mind,
Okay. But did your mind drink alcohol or your body drank alcohol?
body.
Okay. So the material and the spiritual are affected.
How is spiritual affected?
Mental, cognitive forms chitta, which is
Yes,
consciousness, which is,
consciousness.
so isn't it all interlinked?
Yes.
Okay. So at the time of your intoxication, is the world that you are seeing, can it be trusted? Is it reality? Is it correct knowledge?
No.
Okay. So then you are already entering into layers of the mind that you have no concept of. When you're asleep, when you're
Hmm.
dreaming, is that reality?
No.
How do you know you're not dreaming now?
Oh, I it feels like a dream because I'm completely submerged into this conversation.
I met somebody the other day, and I
Yeah.
have the most amazing conversations with people in the Buddhist world, yoga world, and
Yeah.
spiritual worlds. The conversations are next level. So the other
Yeah.
day, I met a girl, I think she was a foreigner, who told me that she had this dream
Uh-huh.
in which she dreamt that she's married in this life and has a child in this life.
Yeah.
And she dreamt that she was in another life, and she had met this man. And in her dream, she's like, no, but I'm dreaming and I have a husband and a child in another life. But she meets this man, she falls in love, and she's constantly in the dream waiting to wake up. And she's married him, she's had a child with him, 11 years have passed. And suddenly one day she wakes up and it's morning in this life. And she said, when I woke up, I was in grief for the husband and the child that I had left behind.
So the dream could be so real, is what you're saying?
How do you know? How do you know this is not a dream? And that is the principle of yoga. That is the principle of all the Vedic scriptures. That is the principle of all of Buddhist thought, is that the world is a projection of the mind. So what you're calling a dream state or an imagination state, which is what Patanjali explains are the fivefold manifestations of vritti.
Yeah.
Okay, which is real knowledge, incorrect knowledge, imagination, sleep, and memory.
Yeah.
All of these are just variations of that kind of manifestation, right? So I don't know how to answer a question on what is the spiritual world and what is the material world, because to me it's all one. It's all a manifestation of chitta. But coming back to your original question, sorry I tend to meander a bit, where you're asking about
You're
how
most welcome to do
women
that.
how women sort of handle it when they're going through it, one is ask for help. The second is, see, in this world, maybe karma is true, maybe it's not true. A lot of people don't like the theory of karma. A lot of people don't believe in God. A lot of people want a justice which is material and which comes with a judgment and a sentence at the end of it, because they want to feel like the wrong that was done to me has been righted. They want compensation. They want their careers restored. And all of these are equally valid. Okay. But the thing is, in this world, each one has to do what they are upon to do. Okay, we live in this material world. I cannot say this world is a projection so I can walk through that wall. The wall is real in a relative sense. It exists. If I try and walk through it, I'll bang my face, okay, and I'll get injured. So I have to respect the boundaries of the wall. So in this world, okay, if I have acted in a way where I have received injustice, and it has hurt me and it has wounded me, if I am called upon and only I will know what is my motivation and is my sense of belief and the path that I'm walking, do what you have to do for yourself to feel that what is yours has been restored to you. At the same time, I would, because I see a lot of people go through the court systems or come to therapy with great grief for the past. Okay, so it is necessary to get yourself the kind of help, support. Like, don't push your finances into a ditch. Don't bleed yourself dry. Don't live in agony without having genuinely good, happy relationships, without living the life that it is possible for you to lead, without joy. Don't get stuck and not move forward in that spot because you're waiting for justice.
Yeah.
Okay, live your life, because if you don't, they have won.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so live your life, but do what you have to do, but do it with detachment. And I really think that equanimity and that detachment, play the long game.
Yeah.
Okay, see, a lot of women today, because of these movements, okay, Me Too, they think public outcry is like, if you have genuinely been wronged, speak up here and now and create a public outcry and demand the justice is not so black and white. Okay, sometimes you've got to play the long game. Sometimes you've got to wait. Yes, they do. The courts are also limited. They need evidence in a certain way. They need eyewitnesses. You forget, in women's harassment issues, it can even be murder. You can know that X has murdered Y, Until there is no weapon, there is no body, there is no eyewitness, there is no CCTV footage, you still cannot put that person in jail.
Correct.
Okay. And so there are limitations in the system that we are working in and under. I won't say that everybody is out to get us. Okay, it isn't as simple as that. But so understanding these limitations, okay, play the long game. Your time will come. You will know when it is right for you to speak. You will know when and believe me, when karma comes for these people, you will be notified. You will get a pop up in your email that says, this person is getting it back. Okay. And the universe will deliver that to your door. Or it may be something that you have worked for purely yourself, that you've had to run from court to court, from tribunal to tribunal, committee to committee. You've had to collect evidence, you've had to collect paperwork, you've had to collect CCTV footage. Okay. And maybe then the victory that you get will be, okay, somebody says, okay, yes, you're right. Okay. Sometimes that can also feel like too little.
Too small.
Yeah, because you already knew you were right.
Yeah.
And who are these people to give you validation?
Absolutely.
Okay, when they were supporting the wrong guys all along, they were a team, and you knew it.
Yeah.
And then there is some grudging after 7, 8, 9, 10 years of you running court to court. So okay, you were right.
You were right.
Okay. So it's sometimes victory can be very, very insufficient also. So therefore I think the fundamental sort of thing that women have to do is, live the life you want to live.
Correct.
Okay, regardless of who is there supporting you or not supporting you. Secondly, pursue the line of action that you want to pursue. Don't let anybody tell you that's right or wrong. Okay, sometimes people will say, why are you keeping quiet? Go and file a lawsuit. I don't want to.
Correct.
I will not put myself through that for your sake. Okay. Sometimes a woman will file a court case and people will say, why are you getting into all this tamasha? That's not for you to decide. I want to do it, I will do it. If I have the vengeance and the fire in me to do it, I will do it till that person drops dead. I will continue to haunt them till the ends of this earth. Like, for instance, I will tell you this. I will not do it for myself. Somebody does it to my child, I'll go to jail for it. I will pursue that person till they are finished. So each one's motivation is different. I may not do it for myself.
Yes.
You touch a hair on my child's head, I will go to jail if I have to, but I will destroy you. Okay.
Fist bump. That's all one has to think.
So the thing is, it really is up to each person. There is no blanket right,
And
there is no blanket
doing
wrong.
that should give you so much of pleasure, so much of happiness, that you're standing up for yourself and
I
you're
think
doing it for yourself.
Standing up for yourself should give you pleasure.
Yeah.
But do not mistake the pleasure of doing what you are called upon to do from your inner voice for the outcome. The outcome may or may not give you pleasure.
Correct.
Whether you win or whether you lose, because it may feel insufficient even if you win. If you lose, you may think, I knew this thing was rigged anyway. Okay. But you do regardless of the result. That is what Sri Krishna tells Arjuna. Okay.
Yes.
The result, it is, you have to do nishkama karma for yourself, for others.
Correct.
Okay. Stand and do what you have to do, whether it is killing your relatives, whether it is calling out a superior in the workplace, whether it is hunting down somebody who has harmed other people. Okay. Whatever it is. If you are called upon to act, it is your duty to act. A lot of people think spirituality is passive. It is not passive. It is very constrained and very conscious action. Yeah. It is knowing that I will wait 25 years, but bugger, I'm going to get you. Yes. And I will tell you this, there is not a single person who has read my thread who does not know who is who.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I did not need to name a single name.
Correct.
But I did it when it was time for me, not when it is time for you. you know.
True.
So that's what I mean. It's people think spirituality is passive. Spirituality is a burning fire. It is prana. Okay, you have purified prana through your meditation, through your yoga, through your whatever your practice. You may be Christian, you may be Muslim, you have done your used your faith to hold yourself upright. That has purified you. That is the fire burning in within you. Okay, that will never let you down. That can burn till the end of your life and beyond through your future lives. That is not a fire that will go.
Does
Okay.
therapy help people?
Definitely. But you have to find the right therapist for you. There are a lot of therapists out there, and I love therapy and I love counseling, and I highly recommend it to everybody because it gives you insight into yourself. And a lot of us sometimes we are so mired in our own situations that we don't turn around and say, but what about me?
What's the
Okay.
difference between therapy and counseling?
Um, there are different forms of therapy. Counseling tends to be a little, I feel, more Western.
Mhm.
You know, therapy, there are different, you can go for past life regression, you can go for, there are lots of different forms, some of which I don't agree with. I personally use Buddhist psychology, Abhidharma, so it depends on what you are drawn to.
Correct.
Okay, that works for you. Any form of therapy. All therapy is not counseling. All counseling is not necessarily therapy. Counseling more works with specific frameworks that use verbal cues that allow you to gain insight. It's also very useful. So I think firstly you should experiment and find the form of therapy that works for you,
Yeah.
form of counseling that works for you. I know, for instance, a lot of my clients do have a spiritual bent that they're not able to discuss with purely Western counseling psychologists
Yeah.
because they get dismissed as this is a crutch and this is fanciful thinking, magical thinking. So whereas I began counseling in the middle of the pandemic. So when I have a client who comes to me and says, I've lost 6 family members in a month, is there a God? You don't say,
Hmm.
oh, this is magical thinking. You say, you allow them to process their beliefs in God. So for me, beliefs are very, very important, whatever people's beliefs are. So therapy is very, very useful because it's a way of turning yourself inwards.
Hmm.
Okay. And it is only useful if it allows you to turn yourself inwards.
It is
Okay.
supposed to allow you, or one has to be ready for it.
Um, a lot of people go to therapy and think that at the end of it they will have a solution. They think it's a formula. It is not it's like, I'll give you an example. It's like taking tuitions in 10th standard, and you
Hmm.
think because you've gone to the tuition teacher you're going to get great marks. You got to study.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Okay, you got to use that extra help to study. It's like that. So therapy, a lot of people go and they think, okay, I've gone to therapy 5 times, now where's my solution? That's not it. You've got to turn it inwards, and you've got to look at the layers of the mind, and you've got to work with yourself. You've got to do the inner work. That's when you'll start seeing results. People
True.
who are willing to use a combination of therapy, meditation, body work will be able to release themselves far more effectively than people who just try and handle it on their own. So definitely seek, support.
And not just that you are going through a very troubled time in your life that you need therapy. I believe therapy is something that is just a neutral uh, intellectual person you're sitting with who is supposed to be a qualified therapist or a
Hmm.
counselor or a coach.
Hmm.
And you to be able to just open up yourself without any judgments from coming from the other side.
Absolutely. And it's rare that we have that in our lives. And I think everybody should go to therapy at least at some point in your life because you also come out with ways of thinking, ways of looking at yourself, perspectives,
Greater
validation,
perspectives.
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
So it does help. Sometimes you don't realize that something that's happened to you also happens to other people.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, even just knowing that is very satisfying that you're not alone.
Corporates have leadership gurus, coaches. I very strongly feel with everything that one has to go through because you are in Sansara, you are in Maya, you are in Leela, you are being a part of an instrument of everything. The Mahabharata of life is on. Therapy should definitely be a part of corporate culture also. The CHRs should think about it, that they need to have, not because you need a therapist, but therapy is therapy. It is to
Yeah.
bring that perspective and, you know, leveling of your mind sometimes.
I agree. I think that a lot of corporates do have counseling and therapists
Yeah.
sort of on board. However, I find that a lot of these, especially life coaches and stuff, are more productivity oriented.
Correct.
They're like, okay, let's get you over this bump
Yeah.
and get you, upping the profits
Yeah.
or seeming like a resolved person. Okay, maybe,
I call it allopathic treatment.
yeah.
And what you actually need is to work on the cause.
Yeah, like I've actually had CEOs come to me and say, I was in hospital last month for 3 days because I had a heart attack and I had an angioplasty and I've been diagnosed with burnout. How do I keep doing what I'm doing and not get this result? I'm like, you cannot. You have to stop doing what you're doing so that you get a different result. But a lot of them don't want to hear it. And so the kind of counselor that they need or they are looking for is somebody who will say, oh, keep doing what you're doing and we'll just change a few things here and you'll get a different result. You
Yeah.
won't. So there isn't too much space for truth telling in corporate counseling, I'm afraid.
Hmm. Hmm.
you know so I until that changes, the whole consumerist capitalist profit, profit, profit,
Profit at any
um
cost has
at
to
any
change.
cost, at human cost.
Yes.
Yeah, that needs to
We
change.
are we are Taraji ready to be deep diving little bit into your 10 days journey. A lot of questions I have got from
Oh, wow.
when I discussed that this podcast we will be recording in my so many groups that we are a part of. Everyone said that okay, and everyone is not a reader.
Hmm.
So I really want you to tell your 10 days. How did you do it? Where did you go? How was the experience? Little bit about this, please.
Okay. So, Sit Yourself Down is a book about my first Vipassana camp or, course.
When was this?
This was 2018, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that it was the day of my son's 10th standard exam got over. And because until then I had always wanted to go for Vipassana, but I never did because I didn't want to leave him for 10 days without any contact. Because as you may know, it's a silent retreat and we don't have access to our phones. But he had just finished his 10th board exam, and the only place I could get a short notice sort of admission into the course was in Sikkim. So I went for 10 days, not knowing what I would be in for, but sort of hoping that I would be able to get through it. And I think it was one of the most transformative experiences of my life.
Mhm.
I really needed it. It came to me at a time when it released me from a lot of pent up things that I'd been holding in and that I had not connected the dots on. One thing happens, you push it in and then you keep going. Second thing happens, you push it in, you keep going. Third thing happens, you push it in, you keep going. And these all sort of
Pile
build
up.
up. Yeah. And what's worse is that when you don't sort of connect the dots, you're going through life running.
Yeah.
You're just running. Most of us are escaping something.
Hmm.
Even the most sorted of us, even the happiest of us, we are constantly avoiding pain, as you said, and running towards what seems to give us pleasure. But because we have not sorted the pain, we kind of don't recognize what is pleasure or what is the pain hiding in the pleasure. I'll give you
Hmm.
an example. Supposing you're dating somebody, and let's say that person has cheated on you and you break up, and then you get into, after some time, the next relationship. A lot of your fears that you're bringing into that next relationship are based on the fact that the previous guy cheated on you.
Yeah.
So this guy is taking the blame for a lot of the actions of that guy. Okay. And until you resolve that past and you recognize where that fear is coming from, okay, it's like you have an elastic band tied to your feet, so you're going to go a certain way and then you're going to come back.
Come back.
Okay, you're going to keep snapping back to
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
So and then this relationship goes through its problems because of that and 10 more other issues, which it's normal and natural to have. So until you go to a place where you sit down, you have no distractions. uh, a lot of things we do in life are self-numbing. A relaxing weekend is music, movies, meals, friends, family, chatter, read a book,
Netflix.
every
Now.
yeah, but everything but look at yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we crowd our lives with things that prevent us from actually feeling what we're feeling. So it's only when all these things are taken away from you and you are actually sit down, that you sit yourself down and all you have is your breath and your mind.
Yeah.
And SN Goenkaji's Vipassana course is like 14-15 hours sitting cross-legged. And the pain, my God, you want to talk about pain? That is physical pain, especially the first few days that you do it. And they will always be, after the first day, four people going to the teacher and saying, give me a chair, give me a cushion, give me extra cushions, give me 10 more cushions. And they'll say, take all the cushions you want. Okay. And the pain doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And then you realize by the third day or the fourth day that no matter how many times you change your leg posture, how many cushions you get, how many chairs you sit on, how many times you stretch your legs, the pain is not coming from external sources.
Mm.
It's internal, and the body is keeping score. Okay, so everything you've pushed, every pain you've pushed into your body is sitting in your body. And it starts coming out when you sit there. It comes out as tears, it comes out as fears, it comes out as memory, it comes out as physical pain. And then you take those 10 days and you sit, and at some point you start freeing yourself. You start seeing yourself that, oh my God, I was wrong in these ways, but I was right in these ways, and I allowed people to tell me that I was wrong. I have been afraid, I have been angry, I have been sad, I have been, I've lost out on joys, I have not said what I needed to say. And there are so many things you realize about yourself, and you stop being reactive. And then you say, okay, there is value in just seeing, in just observing, in just recognizing. And then I will know what to do. I don't need to respond every time.
Yeah.
And so I think that 10-day course is hugely transformative. It was the reason why I quit my 23-year career in journalism. I came back and I said, I can't do this anymore. I also wanted to be able to give people the kind of self awareness that I had received in that course, but I also
Yeah.
knew that I had waited more than a decade to be able to attend the course because of my responsibilities. So that's why I quit. I went back to college to retrain as a counselor, so that I can't give them obviously what the course gives, but I wanted to use meditation along with counseling and therapy to, help people work on themselves internally. Because what I received from that course was just, it was life altering.
I'm very sure about it. If you were to just pick one line, one beautiful line from this book,
From
which
sit
is your
yourself down.
favorite? Yes, sit
Okay,
yourself
it's a
down.
bit. Um,
I think one
okay.
of my favorite chapters is the me time. I'm right there.
Okay.
It's very beautifully written.
So for me, honestly, the biggest insight I received was,
As long as there is craving in the mind, as long as in the mind is aversion, there will be suffering, only suffering. The mind cannot be purged of afflictions.
for me, the biggest, I think, lesson in this book that I personally had was, I can't find it right now, sorry, I didn't mark it, was the story of Angulimala.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you have it marked over there, and, you know, but where he kind of realizes that the only thing that changes is himself. So if, just in, shall I just tell the story
Yes,
briefly?
please.
I'm paraphrasing, but it's in the book.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, Angulimala, as we all have heard the story, was this person who went about collecting the little fingers of all his victims. He had become a daku. Okay. Actually, there's also a little backstory where his name was actually Ahimsaka. Okay. He
Okay.
was a monk whose teacher was very mean or nasty to him and was oppressing him and sent him on this mission of killing people because he didn't like that he was doing well, or some such thing. So he turned into this Angulimala who had collected the fingers, and he had to collect 1,000 fingers. And the last person he comes to is the Buddha. Okay. Also, the story goes, and the Buddha says, of course, transforms him, takes him along. But interestingly, after that, he sends Angulimala back as a monk to all the villages where he had previously killed people. So he has to go back to all those people who hate him and who do not believe that he is capable of change, who are angry with him, who throw stones at him, who curse him, who abuse him. And he goes there and he stands there and he still does what he has to do. Okay. And he gives them now wisdom, and he gives them teachings, and he has transformed, though nobody believes he has transformed. And for me, the realization while I was writing that, and was, you don't change for anybody else. All you can change is yourself. Your circumstances may not change.
Correct.
People may not like you better.
Correct.
Okay. The world may not be nicer to you.
Yeah.
If you change, you can only change for yourself.
True.
Okay, it's in the book right now. I can't remember, which particular chapter, but it's there somewhere. That is my favorite. I think that is the biggest realization I came out with, which also kind of fed into not needing people to believe in me. You know, it's
Correct.
okay. Just do what you have to do.
Absolutely. That sets you free in several directions of life. And then
Yeah.
you are set free to think in a very, very different. But unfortunately, especially in a country like ours, where we are just molded from the beginning, we are told things to do in a certain way, we are asked to be in a certain format all the time. So I think the younger generation need to know the fact that there is no mold. The mold never existed.
There is no mold. Absolutely, so well said. There is no mold, and there is nobody who can. There are no blanket formulas for life. You just have to. You really have to have the strength of your own conviction. I think in a world where everything is based on likes and RTs and shares,
Yes.
okay, we genuinely don't think much of ourselves unless we are validated, and at some point it has to stop, and you've got to, you're losing your core.
Yeah.
You're losing what defines you by yourself. And maybe life has made you an angry person, maybe life has made you a bitter person, maybe life has given you a lot of pain. None of that obliges you to be continue being that way. In this moment, if I choose not to be anything that life has made me,
Yeah.
I can be a completely different person.
That needs a lot of conviction.
Yeah, which is why we need strength of conviction. Which is why, in Abhidharma, which is the Buddhist mind studies, there are 24 faculties of the mind. Okay. The 24th is belief, is faith.
Yeah.
And that is a faculty which, so to the Buddhists, your capacity to believe is a sense organ, like sight, like hearing, your
Wow.
capacity to have faith.
Does it have to do anything with your, what we call the so-called willpower? Does it have to do anything with your sanchit karmas that some people they have, they will break every failure and move on because there's something which is telling them intuitively in their head, spiritually, that come what may, you will go ahead. And some people just first failure and give up.
Yeah. I think that what we are losing in the world today is faith, you know, and I'm not sure whether it comes from Sanchit Karma or Prarabdha Karma, or maybe it comes from the life conditions we have where you had support as a child, where your parents believed in you,
Yeah.
what your teachers told you. A lot of people come from very different kinds of circumstances and homes and situations that were encouraging or not encouraging, oppressive or not oppressive. So for each person, it's different. But I do know that in a world where we have no idols, as in we can't look up to somebody and say that person is who I want to be,
Yeah.
okay, I want to emulate this person, not in politics, not in society, not in celebrity and cinema and music. Then there are no idols left. Everybody has feet of clay. And we've taken away everything that young people can believe in.
Yeah.
And then we say, why are you depressed? Okay, why are you turning to intoxicants? Why are you stuck on video games? Why are you stuck on Instagram all the time? Why are
Yeah.
you living these fake picture worlds? You haven't given people anything to believe in. So all you can do is turn that inwards and find what you. And I personally believe, and I have treated people who have suicidal ideations, okay, and to me that is just completely a lack of faith in anything to believe in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have helped people come out of it, and so I do believe it works. Is that you have to turn inwards and find that you believe in yourself. You have a core that can stand up, that can do, that can survive, that is beautiful, that is strong. Okay, and until you turn around and find that in yourself, you'll keep searching externally and not find something to place your faith in. So faith, I think, is one of the most vital qualities that a person can have, especially women going through court trials, justice system, being told that nobody believes them, young people who are lost in this world of war and conflict and communal identity, and whatnot is happening around us today, and these incidents that we are seeing. um, you have to believe in yourself even when nobody believes in you.
Very well said. I want to. I mean, Taraji, this cannot be just one conversation because we need to move on to your next book, and we will not be able to do it in this podcast, but definitely we have to do that because Anitya is very very beautiful interpretation of how actually Buddha interpreted the entire, the Four Noble Truths. I think we'll have to cover it up in a different conversation. But how would you want to begin our journey? Ours have to be a journey now, is what I feel, and not really end this conversation. How to be that mountain that is not moved by the world? Your
uh,
ending note.
okay. Brings me to Dogen Zenji's beautiful lines: heart like ocean, mind like sky, body like mountain. That's what you make of yourself.
How beautifully explained.
It is ultimately just mind, body, spirit. Just turn inwards. All your answers are there.
Thank you so much. I hope this, I would call it a little beginner's masterclass that I had with you. It will open up some layers for somebody, and you have inspired me at many levels personally. This conversation, it has also given me, several layers that were in my head overlapping. I think I have a little more clarity, and I'm very hopeful that somebody will have the clarity that they needed. And if that, even if this conversation is making a difference in one person's life, the whole purpose of this podcast and this conversation would be achieved.
Absolutely. And I think your podcast is so valuable to so many people because your intention is so pure. You
Thank you
try
so
very
much.
hard to bring benefit to people. And at the end of the day, that's all we are. We are stories. We are narratives in time. We are moments in time collections of incidents. If this incident is beneficial to anybody, you know, may they gain their liberation by it. That's it. We maybe be useful. That's all. Thank you so much for your intention and your motivations.
Thank you so much, Taraji. Let us be the instrument that drives change and happiness.
Thank you so
What a
much.
pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.